Hey everyone, and welcome. If you're a dog owner, you've definitely been there. You look at your pup and see that little bit of gunk in the corner of their eye. Well, today we're going to decode exactly what that means, from the totally normal stuff to the call your vet right now signs. So what are your dog's eyes trying to tell you, really? It's a question that can cause a ton of worry for us pet parents. Is that goop just a harmless eye booger, or is it a sign of something more serious? Let's break it all down so you can feel way more confident about what you're seeing. All right, first things first, before we dive into any of the scary stuff, let's set a baseline. Let's talk about what's totally normal. I like to call this the good goop. This is the kind of stuff that, for a healthy dog, is no big deal at all. You know, tears are absolutely essential for your dog's eye health. They keep everything lubricated and wash away dust and debris. So what we call eye boogers is really just all that stuff collecting in one spot. A little mix of dried tears, some oil, mucus, and whatever dust they picked up. If it's clear or has a little reddish-brown tint, and you mostly just see it in the morning, it's almost always nothing to worry about. Just look at this happy, healthy dog right here. Waking up with a little bit of crust in the corner of their eye, that's totally normal. As long as it wipes away easily and their eyes aren't red or seem painful, it's just part of being a dog. Okay, so moving on from the totally normal stuff, let's get into what I call the gray area. This isn't necessarily a rush to the vet emergency, but it is a sign that you should probably start paying a little closer attention. Let's talk about two really common things: watery eyes and tear stains. Watery eyes, the fancy word is epiphora, is usually just the eye's defense system kicking in, trying to flush out some pollen or dust. But tear stains are different. Those reddish-brown streaks you see on lighter-colored dogs, that's caused by a pigment in their tears called porphyrin. It's basically just iron from red blood cells breaking down. It can look kind of dramatic, but it's usually just a cosmetic thing. So if you are dealing with those tear stains, what can you actually do? Well, here are a few super simple and safe things you can try at home. Gently wiping the area with a damp cloth a couple of times a day can make a big difference. And keeping the fur around their eyes nice and short is also a great idea. But here's the most important tip. Always talk to your vet before you try any of those supplements that claim to magically fix tear stains. Okay, everybody, listen up, because this next section is absolutely critical. These are the red flags. These are the undeniable signs that something is wrong and it is time to pick up the phone and call your vet. And I want to be crystal clear here. The kinds of discharge we're about to look at are not normal. This isn't the time to wait and see what happens or to Google a home remedy. These are clear signals that your dog needs professional medical attention, and soon. Now, take a really close look at these two pictures. On the left, you see that thick, white-gray mucus. That is a classic sign of a condition called dry eye. On the right, you've got that nasty-looking yellow or green discharge, which almost always means there's an infection. If you see anything that looks like either of these photos, you call the vet. Period. No exceptions. When it comes right down to it, color is your best friend for figuring this stuff out. This chart makes it super simple. Clear or reddish-brown, that's your normal eye booger. White-gray mucus, that's a sign of dry eye, so call your vet. And yellow or green, that points to an infection, and you need to call your vet right away. So now that you know what to look for, you might be wondering, well, why is this happening? Let's just briefly touch on two of the most common conditions a vet might find, so you have a better understanding of what could be going on. Okay, so that white-gray mucus we talked about, it's the calling card for a condition most people just call dry eye. Now, the technical name is a total mouthful, keratoconjunctivitis sicca, but all it really means is that the dog's own immune system is mistakenly attacking its tear glands. That leads to some serious dryness and discomfort. And this is exactly why you can't just diagnose this at home. Just look at this diagram. Dry eye is not a simple issue. It's this vicious cycle of inflammation and damage. A vet needs to get in there, figure out what's going on, and prescribe the right medications to break that cycle, and finally give your dog some relief. All right, another really common issue, especially in certain breeds, is something called cherry eye. And honestly, it looks pretty much exactly how it sounds. A smooth, red, fleshy lump that just kind of pops up in the corner of the eye. It looks scary, but it's not a tumor or anything like that. It's actually the tear gland from their third eyelid that has popped out of place. So what's actually going on here? Well, this quote explains the science, but let me put it in simpler terms. Think of it like this. There's a tiny little piece of tissue that's supposed to act like an anchor, holding that gland where it belongs. In dogs that get cherry eye, that little anchor is weak or defective, so the gland just pops out. It's a structural issue that usually needs a little surgery to tack it back in place. And you'll probably notice a pattern here. Cherry eye is super common in those adorable flat-faced breeds like bulldogs and shih tzus. Their skull shape can put different kinds of pressure on all those tissues around the eye. It's also pretty common in breeds like beagles and spaniels. So if you have one of these pups, it's just a good thing to be aware of. Okay, let's bring everything we've talked about together for our final and I think most important section. If you remember just one thing from this entire explainer, please let this be it. Here is the bottom line. Trying to diagnose your dog's eye problems on your own is just plain risky. Things like pink eye, dry eye, glaucoma, even just a little scratch on the cornea, they can all cause redness and discharge. But the treatment for each one is completely different. Guessing wrong isn't worth the risk. And I'm not saying this to scare you, but the stakes are really high. It's not just about your dog being uncomfortable. As this quote points out, if you leave an eye issue untreated, it can get much, much worse and could even lead to permanent vision loss. It's just too important to leave to chance. At the end of the day, you are your dog's #1 advocate. You see them every single day. You know what's normal for them. Now that you know the difference between the good goop and the serious red flags, you are better equipped than ever to keep them safe. So, what will you be watching for? Because being an informed owner is the best thing you can possibly be.